killing the theme. No, where's the July 4th music? Come on.
This is the July 4th music.
Live from Merica Park. Finally, they found a park so good they called it Merica. It's a Business Pants Friday show here at July 4th Studios, featuring analyst Hall Matt Moscardi. Woo! Yeah?
This July 4th, are we declaring independence from the elderly and children on Medicaid?
Oh, good point. Yeah, that's we finally broke free. On today's patriotic weekly wrap-up, America, and something about ESG data.
Oh, the last part's lame.
Our show today is being sponsored by the very patriotic FreeFloatAnalytics.com, the only platform measuring board power, connections, and performance for free. Now that's American. Wait, that's not very American.
No, you know what the American part about that is? Is there anything more American than complaining about the vote? And they give you the data for the vote. You no longer have to complain.
We're actually measuring the meritocracy, which isn't that what everybody wants?
I mean, this is it. It's the corporate democracy. Participate. It's so American.
Yeah.
Can we stop talking about America, or do you have a lot of America to talk about?
my whole thing is America.
No, let's get into the story of the week then. And here's your patriotic music.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. In honor of the fetid year that is 2025, the very American 2025 with Trump 2.0 and some horrible bill about to be passed through Congress, I went through all of our headlines this week, Matt, and I just picked the ones that just screamed America to me.
Oh, it's a good week for that,
right? Mm-hmm. These are the most American headlines. I got a bunch of them, but I'm not going to speak a lot about them. So I'm going to actually give you 8 very American patriotic headlines, and then you can tell the world which is the most American headline.
The most American. Oh, it's like a game inside a game. Yes. Story of the week is a game inside a game. Okay, let's do it.
Here we go. All stories from this past week. We got to start from the top. This really inspired this week. But Elon Musk says he will form the America Party.
Yeah. America, do you mean South Africa?
Well, whatever. America Party if Trump's insane spending bill passes, which it's about to do. So we're about to get a third party which will ensure that Democrats win every election forever. Is that what Elon Musk is trying to do?
Ooh, I like that.
Is he secretly a liberal? Is that what this has all been about?
Well, so no.
Oh. I forget.
I don't know what's the America Party policy platform.
Isn't it just going to siphon off like some disgruntled MAGA Republican type?
No,
it's not going to get any.
I think MAGA hates Elon Musk now too. Isn't it like 7 billionaires? That's the America
it'll be
Party.
8 libertarians. That's what it's going to be.
That's the whole party.
Next, a very American headline of the week. Trump says he'll look at deporting Musk as feud reignites. That's so America, isn't it? Just kick him out.
There is nothing more American than deportation.
I kid you not, Matt. The winner of the Democratic primary in New York City, Zohran Mamdani, they're already threatening to kick him out. This is what everything's like a Simpsons episode now. Everything is just ridiculous. It's just like, we're just going to kick people out. We don't like you, just kick you out.
I believe that's autocracy. That's authoritarian regimes. I believe that's what that is.
And you know what? There was a bunch of foreshadowing about this, because remember when Obama first won, wasn't that basically what Trump was trying to do? Was prove that he wasn't American and kick him out?
He spent the next 8 years talking
about
how he wasn't from America. Yeah.
How about this very American headline? Warren Buffett donates $6 billion in Berkshire stock. This is the best part of it, to 5 foundations. Listen to the 5 foundations that are getting his money.
I went down this rabbit hole. I went on a deep dive.
This is so American. We'll start with the big winner by far, getting the vast bulk of his fortune is of course another CEO, Bill Gates, the Gates Foundation.
Yeah, there we go.
And then we have 4 foundations all related to Warren Buffett himself. We have the Susan Thompson Buffett Foundation, and we have the 3 foundations led by his children, Howard, Susie, and Peter. So This is so American, right? You donating to yourself and to another CEO.
Here's the rabbit hole I went down.
Yeah.
I actually looked at each
Give
of
it
his
to Mackenzie
children's
Scott. Yeah, go ahead.
each of his children's foundations to see where they give money. 90%, no joke, 90% just goes to Omaha, Nebraska. They're giving
really?
they're giving to hundreds of charities and libraries and school, like a middle school, like in Omaha. So effectively,
What's
what you're
Omaha
saying,
like? Is it like Oz? It must be a beautiful.
Like what you're basically saying is, like the billions and billions and billions of dollars that we have, like the untold vast sums of money that we said we were going to save people with because they were foundations. We're really just saving Omaha, Nebraska.
Omaha.
And number two, the Sherwood Foundation, which I believe is Susie's foundation.
Okay,
she
yeah.
pays herself $600,000 a year to run the
Nice.
foundation.
Does she need that money? Is she
I don't
hurting?
think so. Does
Yeah.
she? Come on.
All right, that's a very American headline. Here's how about this other next very American headline. Mark Zuckerberg, the famous college dropout, he sees the beginning of a new era for humanity in super intelligence. Isn't it very American to just have that level of ego that you're creating super intelligence for humanity? Isn't that very American? It's very American to me.
Is that American? It
Yes,
just sounds like
believe
that.
me. Yes.
That just sounds like
Believe
a
me.
supervillain from
Maybe it's very
a Marvel
male.
movie.
I don't know. How about this very American headline? Tech workers say they're rapidly being replaced by AI. I mean, isn't America the
yay.
birthplace of AI? I mean, aren't we responsible for the next generation of the world?
Look,
Yeah.
The only reason why we would be the birthplace of AI has nothing to do with like innovation and like hubs of intelligence, human intelligence, all that stuff. It's that we are the least likely to prosecute you for stealing everything.
And we're the least likely to regulate you, and we're the least likely to stop a company from letting one person have complete control over everything.
Like even in China, they're like, there's some things you can steal and some
They're
things you can't,
guardrails.
and we will kill you if you steal some of the things you can't, right? Like other places there are guardrails.
All right, 3 more very American headlines. Burger King to roll out 1,900 calorie Yokozuna
stop
burger.
it. I already hate this. 1,900 calories?
This is the baby body burger featuring 5 flame grilled beef patties, 4 slices of bacon, and 4 slices of cheddar cheese.
Can you explain the baby body burger? What is that?
I don't know. It's something to do with sumo wrestling in Japan. Isn't it very American not only to release a 1,900 calorie burger, but to export it to some other country that's probably already healthy?
Look, it's probably exempt from tariffs, so it's probably a win.
This big story been going around, very American story. Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez's extravagant wedding sparks global debate on wealth inequality. We don't have to go into that. We know all about
he's
that.
one of my assholes of the week, so
Okay.
we can just get there later.
And finally, in a very American headline that you can only really see in America, of course, this sad headline from the New York Times, I believe. If Caitlin Clark, Caitlin Clark, she's basically the most famous athlete in the world now. Yeah,
She is electric.
If Caitlin Clark's worth $1 billion to the WNBA, why is she paid only a fraction of that? This woman is a phenomenon, Matt. Do you want to guess how much she makes as a salary?
I mean, with or without endorsements?
No, that's not a part of it, because I'm going to tell you this. The average annual salary, this is the average, not the median. The average salary for NBA players, the men, for last year was approximately $12 million. Has nothing to do with endorsements. This is just what they're paid to work for the league.
It's pretty good.
Caitlin Clark this year is making $78,000.
Oh,
Only in America would a woman make $78,000 compared to her male counterpart. Only in America.
I don't want to open up a can of worms here, but she's making 78,000 times more than I am. So
That has nothing to do with my story.
nothing to sneeze at.
All right, what do you got? What's the most American of these
Holy
headlines?
moly, the most American. First of all, there's 73 American headlines.
I don't
right
care.
now.
It's a very important holiday week. I wanted to go big. Only in America would you go big. Come on.
Look, I'm gonna ignore
This isn't Luxembourg where there's 2 headlines. Come on.
The Musk Trump is not the most America to me. That's like two like bitter billionaire types.
Well, it's pretty
arguing
American.
is American, but
Yeah.
it's not the most American thing on
Sure.
here. Super intelligence is definitely not American. I don't know what America you've been to, but I haven't
To
met
me,
any
it's just the
super
ego.
intelligence.
Yeah, it was just the ego of the statement.
Yeah, a guy who dropped out of college is talking to us about super
Exactly.
intelligence.
Thank you.
The Yokozuna burger.
1900
They're selling that
calories.
they're selling it only in Japan. So,
Okay, but
it
isn't
can't
it
be the
very
most
American to
A
force
sumo
feed?
burger is not the most American.
Okay.
Can't be. Leaving us with Bezos and Sánchez.
That's a big one.
Caitlin Clark making no money despite being the greatest just because she's a woman. Tech workers replaced by AI, and Buffett. I'm going with Buffett all day long.
Really?
The most
He
American thing.
He is kind
on
of
Earth.
America's darling, is he not?
I actually had a friend who was like this, who claimed that like they wanted to go make millions of dollars so they could donate it. Is there anything more American than going out into the workplace with the goal, like thinking I could be a millionaire, I could be a billionaire, I could get there, and when I do, I'm going to buy my yacht, I'm going to buy a couple houses, but I'm going to donate most of my money.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you get to donate your money, who do you donate it to? Your children's foundations. What a
Yeah.
fucking... And you want to know what I realized?
The children who weren't even good enough to be part of the succession planning of the company. None of the children are CEO.
Well, but what I did realize is that Howard Buffett does not pay himself, but he is on the Berkshire board.
Yeah,
So
with an
he's gotten millions
incredible
upon
amount of
millions
shares,
of dollars
yeah.
for shares on the Berkshire board. So it doesn't really matter. There's nothing more American than thinking like the pinnacle is making billions of dollars so that you can donate it. There's nothing more arrogant in America.
trickle down economics. They call that trickle down.
So I'm going with
All
that
right.
one.
Okay, good choice.
Which leaves us with, what are we on to? Goodliest.
I like how fast we're already going.
You know, it's a Thursday doing a Friday show. It's time to go fast.
I'll go first because yours might need a little bit more explanation. I'm just focusing on the person who's depressed here. The headline is Zohran Mamdani's victory in New York City mayoral primary leaves Wall Street alarmed and depressed.
Yeah, depressed. I like
This is
that
not a
word.
political statement of who I support. I just like that the depressed refers to a quote from Bill Ackman,
Oh no, yeah.
who was depressed by this, and he's already saying he's dumping hundreds of millions of dollars into the Eric Adams campaign, the guy who is like
the corrupt guy, the actual guy who was
Yeah.
had enough evidence that Department of Justice lawyers quit when the Trump Department of Justice killed the investigation because they had so much evidence that he was corrupt.
Yeah, and the guy who got Claudine Gay, the president of Harvard, fired because she was letting what every university in America does is she was letting her students protest something.
Can you imagine being Bill Ackman's shrink? Like when he shows up and
I
he's
imagine
like,
that's a very rich person. Yeah,
but he's sitting on the couch. Imagine like having to listen to that. First of all, you're
Oh.
probably making like $150,000 a year to listen to people's problems
Oh,
all day.
yes.
And
More.
Bill Ackman comes in and he's like, God, I'm so depressed that like Mamdani won the primary. It's so depressing. He doesn't understand us billionaires. Like,
Yeah, why-
he's supposed to represent us billionaires, not the majority of people who wanted him. Right?
What is wrong with the New York City primary system? How come billionaires like Bill don't get like Class B voting shares? How come they don't get like 1,000 votes per share?
They did. Like, I think that's
Like a Mark Zuckerberg
Ideally,
situation.
that would be the future.
Ideally, yeah.
I do like that. I do like that he's depressed. That does make me
What do you
happy.
have, Goodliest?
I have.
Yours is
I
serious.
saw this headline: EU regulators propose integrating ESG risks into stress tests for banks and insurers.
It's a mic drop moment right there. This is what defines our great
Well,
show.
they're only proposing it, but it did make me smile because a stress test. When we were at the mothership at MSCI for more like a decade, right? Like,
Yeah.
we talked internally all the time about how do we turn. ESG is just data. It's data on like sea level rise and data breaches and who runs companies and all
All
that kind
kinds
of
of
stuff.
fun stuff. Yeah.
And it's a lot of data. How do we turn all of this mishmash of data? Now, they wanted to sell it as a product, a rating product, right? Like rate a company from A to
Like
Z
2
or
thumbs
whatever.
up. Siskel
yeah,
and Ebert.
exactly. It's the Siskel and Ebert of capitalism.
Yeah.
But we were talking internally about the idea of scenario models and stress tests. What happens if sea level rises 7 meters? What percentage of your assets are underwater? In fact, we wrote papers at the time about exactly that. We effectively did stress tests. What I like is that 6.5 years ago, when we left the company, finally the EU was like, you know what's an idea that we should try? Stress tests. I like that.
There you go.
It makes me happy. It's validating.
All right. Okay.
Which one's the goodliest? I'm going to go with depressed Ackman, right?
Really, I was going to go with yours because it sounds like that we're taking something seriously.
Ooh, okay, we'll go with mine. I
actually agree with you, though. I mean, my talking point on this is always the same. It's just a set of data points representing potential long-term risk. Why the F would you not pay attention to all the potential long-term risk facing your enterprise? Why would you not do that?
And why are we talking about
You should be ready for everything. You should be ready for the Me Too movement. You should be ready for sea rise, whatever it is. You and your board, you should be ready.
And why on earth are we talking about ESG as an investing type or solution or something? It's all the information. It's information. Information is an investing type. It's like you use the information to do things like stress tests and then invest. That's the point. I like it because it actually gets to the point of the thing. And it's not as prescriptive as other things. In fact, I read the EU consultation paper, and it basically says, like, look, there's all this information out there. Some of it's imperfect. Some of it's going to be modeled, and some of it is good. But you need to actually take in the information and test a future assumption with this information. That's the point.
Just like traditional financial metrics. Yeah.
We finally got it. It took us 20 years. We finally got it.
Just like how currently they don't pay attention to every single financial metric.
Correct.
They pick and choose what they think is meaningful to them. Every investor has their own method.
Yeah,
right, let's get off
so
of
mine
this.
wins. All right, we are making time. Let's go.
Yeah, I love this.
Let's slow it down with some assholes.
Oh, I was actually feeling pretty up, but okay, let's slow it down.
These assholes are actually in our wheelhouse, assholes. The first one really needs not much exposition here. Jeff Bezos is my first option of asshole of the week. Just because these are the 4 headlines I read in order. In your so for those of you that listen to the show, you know that Damien pulls like 10,000 news stories a month and calls it down to 2,000 to 5,000 that are interesting.
That's culling. Yeah.
Yeah, the culling is
that's barely culling.
By the end of the year, we probably have 12,000 stories that we've read.
Sure.
It is a monstrous amount. And
we're on top of stuff around here.
In the production documents that we have, that we meticulously maintain for the 0 people that listen to this show, these are the 4 headlines I read in this order, okay? And I was just jumping around. They weren't actually captured in this order, but I was jumping around. These are the 4 I read. Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez's lavish Venetian wedding by the numbers. And then it went into a couple of like how many guests there were and like how much money they think it generated for the Venetian economy and all that kind of stuff.
96 private jets flew in. They spent $50 million, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. Jeff Bezos planned $5.4 billion Amazon stock sale on wedding day.
Crazy.
Saw that one.
So the suggestion there is that he did it like kind of as a flex, like he's going to cash out on his wedding day, kind of a celebration.
Isn't it? He's got to pay for the Venetian wedding. That's probably the cost.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I saw Amazon deploys its 1 millionth robot in a sign of more job automation.
I don't like that. Yeah.
Okay. And then this one is what put me into full on asshole territory. While Bezos is fucking riding his like 180 Venetition boats, taking, all the stuff.
Not only that, but he picks the epicenter of world over tourism. It's this city that has been most concerned. They've debated this topic for decades now. Suggesting that it's ruining their harbors, that the city is actually sinking because of all the tourists.
It's the pollution is horrible.
Don't get me wrong. This is the epicenter of debate over whether over tourism is destroying, certain cities across the world.
Beautiful cities around the world.
Yes.
This is the headline I read. With all that as the backdrop. Disabled Amazon workers in corporate jobs allege systemic discrimination.
Oh.
I mean, while Jeff Bezos is
Well,
on a Venetian yacht
Yeah.
waving to his adoring celebrity fans,
Yeah.
disabled Amazon workers are saying they are being discriminated against.
Maybe it doesn't matter anymore because Andy Jassy has been saying the last few weeks that that yes, AI is definitely gonna take over a lot of jobs. So maybe it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, that's true.
They can
And
get fired for other reasons, right?
You know what? You know what's not disabled? Robots are not disabled, and
Oh.
we keep deploying them, right? So what
Yeah.
a bunch of fucking assals. So that's number one, Jeff Bezos, right off the bat. That
Robots,
was
so
an
we can
easy
get sponges faster.
one. Yeah, all in an effort
For
to get me
nothing.
to get me fucking cleaning supplies that I can get 4 minutes from my house.
Yeah,
at
you could
Stop
probably
and Shop.
you could probably walk somewhere. Yeah, and
I
yet-
can
yeah.
literally walk and get it.
I mean, I'm guessing that 95% of the population could just go walk and get their sponges.
It's unbelievable. All right, here's number two. Number two, slightly longer, but
Here
we
we go.
actually had this debate in pre-production on the Tuesday show.
Did we?
It wasn't a debate. It was me ranting, is what it was.
Yes.
But I saw this headline, and here the asshole here is proxy season.
Okay, the entire proxy
The entire
season?
season.
The
The entire
U.S. proxy season or the world?
U.S.
or-
specifically, okay? Because here's was the headline. It was out of Responsible Investor. Better than expected, but uncertainty remains the 2025 U.S. proxy season.
Who expected? What did people expect?
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, I don't know who expects what.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
here's the summary of the article.
I don't think it's better than expected. Yeah, go
The
ahead.
number of shareholder proposals were down in the U.S.
Sure.
obviously.
And a lot of this is because of no actions, right?
Well, it actually said that the percentage of no actions is exactly the same. Is another takeaway.
Is that right?
69% was rejected.
Interesting.
And that's roughly level year over year from 2024.
So maybe they're just CEO Darren Woods of Exxon scared everybody because he
That's
sued the
correct. They
shareholders.
chilled shareholders from actually submitting proposals rather than
They don't want to be sued.
But investor support for not the anti-woke. The anti-woke is a steady 2%.
Is it that high? I didn't realize.
It's less depending. If you exclude the anti-woke ones, where they slip in things that aren't about being woke, where it's like AI, reports, because the AI reports basically bring up their average, which
It's
is why they're putting them in
bipartisan.
there.
Yeah, I think
But-
people want that. Yeah.
But there's quotes from Morningstar about how support for these proposals are steady around 20%, which is actually like on level, which means we're
On level for the last few years, right? I mean, not. This is a
Exactly.
recent thing. Yeah, we've reached a
over
new
years.
stage of apathy, is what you're saying. Like,
Well, we've plateaued in a way. Yeah,
Yeah.
our interest is
Apathy
plateaued
is
in
winning.
these things.
Yes.
And that's the better than expected. 'cause
apathy and fear, I should say. Fear and apathy.
I
Yeah.
guess that the expected was we thought that the support would go down, but it didn't go down. It stayed about level. It's about the same.
Here's how I would rewrite this headline. I would call it worse than expected. Fear and apathy dominate proxy season.
Well, here was my problem, and it's
Yeah,
not
go ahead.
just this article, because I've read a dozen articles about
No, it's
proxy
good reporting.
season this
It's
year.
good reporting.
I've read a lot of articles about proxy season this year already. In all of them, including this one, not a single mention of a director vote.
Right. I don't know why that is. Why do we focus so? Why?
98% of the vote is on
Yeah.
directors.
I don't know
Not
why.
one mention?
We don't focus on management proposals anymore. We don't focus on say on pay. We don't focus on directors. It is a little bit odd.
How do you have a proxy season review where you don't mention the fact that Jay Hogue was voted out at a 71% rate?
79%. How dare you?
And they ignored it.
Yeah, and that
they
includes the
decided
shares
to
held by.
ignore it.
That includes the shares held by Jay Hogue himself and Reed Hastings. 79% said no.
I mean, there wasn't a mention of the average approval for directors. There wasn't a mention of the rise of activism in the U.S. There's a massive rise. If you listen to Mike Levin on our Shareholder Primacy podcast, you'd hear that the number of activist campaigns has grown substantially this year over every other year. Not only that, they're not asking for one board seat. They're asking for full slates, 3, 4, sometimes full board slates, and they're winning. Mike Levin's been talking about this all year on Shareholder Primacy.
How about this? Yeah. How about they could have mentioned this just this week? CoStar Group 46% of investors said no on pay. 46%, and yet the lowest vote against the director was 4%. 4%. How?
I mean,
what's that disconnect all about?
Where's the story about how ISS and Glass Lewis basically give full unvarnished support for directors unless there's an activist involved, in which case then they say the directors are underperforming. They don't actually do a job until somebody else does it for them first.
Compelling argument, yeah.
And the constant story we hear instead is about the 500 or so shareholder proposals at what? 150, 200 companies? Like it's basically the largest 200 companies in the U.S. That's it.
Well, in that sense, I guess that Darren Woods and the anti-ESG brigade has won because they've put full attention on the shareholder proposals, right? That's all we talk about now, shareholder
That's
proposals.
all we talk about. And the anti-woke, that's all they talk about anymore, the shareholder proposals, because they're basically press releases. Non-binding shareholder proposals is what we talk about for proxy season, not the 80,000 global active directors or 25,000 U.S. directors that get a vote every year.
This is the powerful
What are we
technique.
doing?
This is the powerful technique of the right, which is that like they look at they pick a college, an American college, and they find one module in women's studies that they don't like, and they say shut it all down. It's the whole thing is woke. They find one little sliver of a class that they don't like, and they think that the whole thing is
No, I'm just you know what, the asshole here is talking about proxy season, summaries of proxy season.
All right. Well, I don't think I'm going to vote for this one, but I hear you.
Come
I
on,
hear you.
like not
This is
one
too
of
esoteric.
You, none of you can talk about people. Not one can talk about a person. All right. Number 3, investors being racist. How's that for? How's that?
I don't like that one.
Well, I saw this headline. Philippine corporate governance hindered by highly concentrated ownership, OECD says.
Okay.
So the OECD puts out equity market reports regularly. I regularly ignore them. And
They're
then
big reports.
I mean,
to be fair,
they're just not that interesting. They say roughly the same thing every single year, and no one cares. But this one, for some reason, I clicked on it. I opened it, I read the report, and then I kept reading, and then I kept reading, and I got more angry. Because here's some excerpts from the report. Concentrated corporate ownership, particularly among family-owned listed firms, undermines corporate governance, the OECD said. These ownership structures blur the lines between ownership and management, which can lead to appointment of successors based on family ties or loyalty rather than qualifications, increasing the risk of poor leadership and weak oversight. Okay. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yeah, sounds like something that we're yelling about every day on these shows.
Every fucking day we talk about it. It's in the data in every country. And then it goes on to say things like controlling shareholders may choose to benefit themselves at the expense of minority shareholders. Now, remember, it's writing this sort of scathing corporate governance review of the Filipino market. Okay? Mm-hmm. One report over. The one report prior to this, the OECD put out a report on Sweden.
Okay.
Sweden, where the majority of companies in Sweden are dual class or owned fully by a foundation. They are often family run or have deep family ties.
I did not know that. A majority? Really?
It's like dual class is like one of the most common practices for companies in Sweden.
I did not know this.
And in the Sweden report, and this is a country that's mandated 40% women on boards, but we noted that the fact that women have no power, and the part of the reason why is the men run the companies, right? Yeah. Like they add women to the boards and give them no power because the men
run the foundations
control.
too, right?
Yeah, they run the same foundations. Minority shareholders have basically no real rights, but the OECD said a shareholder with practical majority control of the votes in the company can exert significant control, but also that efficient governance requires there to be a shareholder or coalition of shareholders that monitors the company, engages with the board, and proposes and votes on important matters such as election of board of directors. It says extensive individual shareholder rights, allowing any shareholder to add items to the agenda of an AGM ask the board questions at the meeting, and challenge a decision by a shareholder at the shareholder meeting, basically effectively means that they are taking care of their minority shareholders. They gave them a lovely review of their governance.
So their paternalism is fine in Sweden?
What the fuck are we doing? It's okay for Sweden to have most of its market be controlled because shareholders can go to the annual meeting, can complain to their faces and get nothing. In the Philippines, you know what they do? They don't even pretend. They just don't pretend.
This is like this is like the colonial racism of we trust the older economies, but we don't trust the emerging economies. Is that what this is?
It's insane.
It's a mature economy, so they know what they're doing. Leave them alone.
We think of the American system in particular, there are more publicly traded companies in the U.S. than any other country, and those we think of like the American system as capitalism is like efficient, frontiers and capital allocation and democracy, and we have our companies are like built to represent the shareholder interests. When you look at our data, 25% of the US market is effectively controlled by one person at each company. Totalitarian companies. That's free float data. Free float shows that at 25, I think the number is 26% of US companies, they are totalitarian. So 1 in 4 companies are controlled, and we're talking about like we're the paragon of democracy and governance. What are we doing here?
Why surprised are we by this.
Castigating the Philippines market anymore?
By this,
and heralding Western markets. I mean, it just smacks of like, shut up and do like real. You can't go and say, well, they have dual class, but they're nice to their minority shareholders. That's not a thing. It's not real.
I will say this is one of the major things that irritated me. First, when GMI Ratings bought the corporate library, and then when MSCI bought GMI Ratings, was in this like overzealous push to market and sell everything and to put a rating on everything, that we expanded our ratings beyond the U.S. and Canada, and suddenly we suddenly had this understanding of every single market in the world, every global jurisdiction. Suddenly we were rating every country, and what always bugged me was this: is that how the hell are we pretending to have an understanding of the corporate governance, say in Philippines versus Sweden versus the U.S. It's crazy. Like we don't. And
not only is
and
it
you're
crazy,
right. There's a sort of an unintentional or maybe intentional bias here, or you might be right. Just plain old racist lean to trumpet mature economies into crap on emerging economies, right?
I mean, not only is it like it's a bias, but we built the system around a Western set of ideals, right? Like
exactly,
which means you've already
everything else
you built it wrong.
Looks poor.
Like everything's going to look poor, and like. All you're doing is checking a box because I have the right. If I buy a share of a Swedish company, I have the right to go to the meeting and complain. Like, really, that makes them better at corporate governance than the Philippines, where they say, "Look, you've got no rights anyway," right? Like, isn't it more honest everywhere else?
It's especially crazy when one of my talking points over the last year or so is that the big threat to humanity that AI, all the major AI companies seem to be highly controlled by highly concentrated ownership, right?
I mean,
which is the one thing I fear the most, is that you have Mark Zuckerberg types who have complete voting power, and yet are releasing super intelligence to the globe. I mean, this is the same thing. I mean,
if you look at just U.S. companies, the top 6, 7, 8, 9, the top 9 U.S. companies, only Apple and Microsoft, so we're looking at 7
of the
top 9
tech companies.
7 of the top 9 companies are wholly controlled by one individual.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? What are we doing? If we know that 1 in 5 directors in the U.S. are connected to one another, and we're saying in the Philippines that they're like loyalty, ties of loyalty could be bad for succession and stuff.
And
what
let's
are you
not
doing?
forget, that we're not
some real research, OECD.
We're not hypocrites here because we're on the forefront of when the board at OpenAI tried to remove Sam Altman for basically going against the mission of the company, of the organization. We supported the board in that instance, and yet the entire business world, their first reaction was like, "How could you do this? How could you?"
They all called it a failure of governance,
and they called it like a coup or whatever. They were using all these ridiculous words. But anyway, okay,
all right.
I might actually vote for this one. What else do
number
you have?
4.
Yeah.
Well, number 4.
Do we need a 4?
Well, this one's. We're going to do most of this one actually. The data behind this one on another show. So stay tuned.
Teasing another show. Yeah.
It's going to be out today, so you can get it later today. It's the Proxy Countdown show. All right. Here's what I saw. Well, the asshole here is companies. They're fucking with your votes. All right.
What does that mean?
Straight up. And you don't know it. Okay. Here's what I saw. Press release. Deirdre Stanley to join PayPal's board of directors, June 24th, 2025.
Uh-huh.
Now, nobody cares about these press releases. Not a single person except for you reads them.
I know, that's sad.
Literally you are the one guy who gets this, tags it, reads it, whatever. Okay?
Can I say I at least applaud PayPal here for using the word join? Because usually they say elected when no one's actually elected them. Yeah.
That's true. What PayPal did was they increased the size of the board and they added a person. Now, what they did is not that interesting. In fact, who this person is not that interesting to me.
It's sort of interesting that you can even increase the board without shareholder approval. But
I mean, that's all part of the bylaws. Okay, I get it.
Sure, I know.
But the question to me is not the what; it's the when. Mm-hmm. This happened 19 days after the annual general meeting.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right.
19 days.
Which means they knew about her before the meeting.
There's no mention of her. There's no mention of her in the proxy. There's no mention of a plan to expand the board in the proxy. There's no mention of anything in like amended things. No 8Ks. No nothing.
But these talks had to have been going on before the meeting with the nomination committee.
I actually have data on executive searches that shows that for a CEO placement, on average, in the last 5 years, takes about 200 days to do a search. 220 days.
And that makes sense because one of the things that in this Price Waterhouse Coopers report, the executives are complaining that the reason why they aren't replacing directors, even though they hate the directors, is that they're worried it's too expensive.
Yeah, it takes too long. Yeah.
And that's why, right?
Well, let's
220 days.
Let's assume that that's for a CEO. Let's assume a director takes half that time. We'll be really conservative. We'll say 50% of the time, right? 100-ish days, okay? 110 days. I took half of the time and I just deducted it from when Deirdre was appointed to the board. And that actually comes to March. Mm-hmm. Early March. It's March 3rd-ish, beginning of March this year. The proxy came out April 21st. So they had to have started the search for Deirdre Stanley for this board officially roughly at the beginning of March, 1.5 months before the proxy comes out, which means they, A, knew they were going to expand the board, B, had a short list of people who they were going to choose for the vacancy, all before they communicated to investors who is going to be on the ballot this year.
Right.
Rather than put her on the ballot, because they hadn't published the proxy yet, rather than put her on the ballot, they waited until after the AGM to announce her placement. You want to know? You want to know? This feels like PayPal could be the asshole. But I ran the numbers, and this is what we're going to cover on the Proxy Countdown today. So if you want the numbers behind this, go download that show. The number of times that this happened in the last 5 years where a director was added less than 30 days after the AGM of the company.
Which means they knew before the meeting.
They had to have known. Less than 30 days. It's happened 247 times in the last 5 years.
Yeah, it's significant because not only are you circumventing the shareholder voice, but you're also letting this person basically be paid a full year's salary without any judgment upon them yet, right? Like they're going to collect that money in equity anyway, no matter what happens.
Well, it turns out half of these companies are classified boards, which means it's not a full year.
Oh, is it?
For most of them, it's
Wow.
2+ years.
Oh, wow.
Before they see their first vote. In fact, at Rockwell Animation, which is, and we'll talk a little bit more about this on Proxy Countdown. At Rockwell Animation, this happened every year for 3 straight years in the last
right. So they have a system in place.
They are basically paying a person, and most of the time they'll get a salary. That their salary and their stock awards will be prorated for their for the year. But if you joined 7 days after the AGM, the pro rata amount is basically the whole amount. There's no pro rata. Right?
They don't care what shareholders think.
Not, like the shares generally vest right before the AGM, not 1 year. So it's not like I have to serve past the AGM. It's your shares. You get a pro rata amount of shares that vest before the AGM, because if you get voted out, they don't want you to have shares like lingering in the company.
If you get
and all
voted
that kind
out,
of stuff. If you got voted out.
I think all this is cute that you're even worried about this, because the shareholders are going to support it anyway if they get voted out.
But
no one gets voted out.
Like, I feel like investors have no idea how much the companies fuck with them. Like, they don't even pay attention.
I gotta say,
because they don't care about directors. They don't pay attention enough to know that, like, if I were a company, I'd just slide someone in the next day. I didn't have to put it in the proxy. There's no vote. They get basically the full amount of pay. And guess what? By the time they get there, they've been on a committee for a year. They've made choices, and they look like an incumbent. And investors are just like, whatever. They've been here for a year. I don't remember voting on them last year, but I guess they're good.
And I have to say that since we've been covering this, we've been looking at this for about a month or so. I've never seen anyone bring this up before. So this is something they've been sneaking by everybody.
Those are your options. You got companies fucking with your votes. You got investors are racist. You got proxy season and Jeff Bezos.
Well, the obvious answer here is Bezos, because it's July 4th, and it's just all the hypocrisy. I mean, let's not forget that Sánchez and Bezos, they claim to be the big fighters of the climate crisis, aren't they? Aren't they our heroes?
Yeah, they're our heroes. Yeah.
Proxy season. I'm too bored by that one. I don't even know how to hate. I don't even know who to hate on that one. I don't know who's the asshole. I hear what you're saying, but
everyone's an asshole. I hate that.
I think you're right to point out that we're spending way too much time focusing on shareholder proposals. Like, we should be focusing on it, but we need to split the time between that and
honestly,
director votes.
Who's going to execute the shareholder proposal if they decided to anyway? It's the board and management. Vote for people.
The companies appointing directors right after the AGM certainly is compelling. The unfortunate part of this one, which is why I'm not going to vote for it, is that the shareholders would support them anyway. I mean, they support every director, unfortunately, and even when they vote them out, like Jay Hogue, the board doesn't. They don't care. Nobody cares.
No one cares.
So I find this one compelling. This investors are racist from the OECD. This is a topic that doesn't really get enough attention. This tension between emerging and mature, whatever word.
I don't know why it triggered
economies.
me this week. I mean, this has been happening for 50
I know,
years.
but
it just triggered me.
I like that you're pointing this out. I like that you dug this up on Sweden, especially knowing that we pointed out for years that the women on their boards, it's token representation. They have no power. I just think this stuff just is important to talk about, important to point out. So I'm gonna let them be the assholes of the board.
Let them be the assholes.
I like this one. This is a good find. This is a good dig.
All right.
Usually when you go into a rabbit hole, it just makes you more insane. But this one,
maybe
you pulled out a good
insane.
nugget here. This is an interesting one.
All right, let's wrap this up with headlines, winners, predictions.
Thank God.
Let's get out of here.
Speaking of insane.
Yeah, I kept it short this week. Keep it short.
Listen to mine. People are being, this is an actual headline from an actual news source. People are being involuntarily committed, jailed, after spiraling into chat GPT psychosis.
Wow. Yeah, look.
So I guess people are spending a lot of time talking to these chatbots, and it's kind of making them mental, I guess.
Well, here's the good news.
Yeah.
That this thing's only been out for like a year, and we're already seeing the horrible effects. Like, it took us 15 years with Facebook and Instagram and social TikTok to realize like how incredibly, insanely bad it is for you. At least this is happening faster. Yeah. This is like the fentanyl of like to social media's heroin.
I'm lucky because I was born in Gen X, and I read that the Gen X generations, like older generations, that we use it for. Here's how I use it. I'm like, I walked for 20 minutes on my treadmill at 3 miles an hour. How many steps is that? I use it for dumb stuff.
Yeah, well, we have.
I don't use it as my therapist. I mean, what are we doing here?
We have it as like we have Google Home, right? You talk to the thing, and the only thing we use it for is
converting
a timer.
Quarts into gallons.
Seriously, it's a fucking timer for our chicken in the oven. It's like, hey, Google, can you time it for 10 minutes? It's so
I swear
dumb.
The timer might be the only thing you should trust, because I try to use it to get like market cap information when I'm putting together a data list for the Proxy Countdown show, and I ask it 3 straight times and it gives me 17 different answers.
Yeah, forget that.
Yeah, I don't
Just
know.
ask it to count down time. Yeah.
What do you
my
got?
my headline of the week is Elon Musk says he is so sorry for his horrible behavior.
That's not true, is it? Did he say that?
He said, remember when he took the chainsaw out? He said, effectively, someone handed it to him backstage, and he ran with it. And then he said,
glorifying cutting programs that go to poor people.
He said, yes. And he said it clearly lacked empathy. That's what he said.
How the hell is he coming around to this now?
He's not coming around to anything. He's like, he first of all, right now, he's out on Trump, and every liberal hates him. We've got stickers on cars that say "No Elon," right? Like, so what are you really doing? Is this the beginning of the apology tour? Like, you try
but for who? But who cares? Who's listening to him? Who cares?
At this point, like, all he does, and not to mention that a year ago on Joe Rogan, he had a long rant about empathy is destroying Western civilization.
Oh,
that's
that
not
was
a
Mark
joke.
Zuckerberg. That was him.
Yeah, that was him. That was
they both went on there to wax poetic about how basically women are ruining the world.
Yeah, empathy for dark-skinned humans is ruining Western civilization. It's what he said. But I saw that headline and it felt apropos of the moment. So who's your winner this week?
My winner is simple. I'll go first. Charlize Theron. Speaking of South Africa, right? Because that's what we only talk about white South Africans on this show. Here is her quote. This quote's been going around because we're talking about Bezos this week. So why not end it with Bezos? She said, "I think she was speaking to some event. She said, I think we might be the only people who did not get an invite to the Bezos wedding, but that's okay because they suck."
Oh, well.
Look, it's just simple. I like that one. It's just
cut out
simple.
the rest of the quote in which she said they were a bunch of woke royalty.
Okay, whatever. But I'm just summing up all your reporting. I'm summing up all your reporting. They just suck.
Look, as we barrel towards being a country that throws the elderly, disabled, and children off of healthcare and denies them food access, there really can be only one winner in my week.
Go ahead.
And this is off of the thousands of headlines that you pulled for this month. Yeah. There's only, for last month plus this month, there's only one winner, and it's bacon. And I mean like real bacon, because I saw this headline: Kraft Heinz recalls more than 367,000 pounds of Oscar Mayer turkey bacon over listeria.
Turkey bacon.
Yeah, turkey bacon. Turkey bacon's not bacon. It's not bacon. Oh. Get out. So my winner's bacon.
I can't even imagine eating bacon in the summer of all times.
Oh, yeah, I gave it to the kids this morning. It was leftover.
Do you have I hope you have air conditioning. That sounds horrible.
We have geothermal.
Okay, there you go. I don't know what that means.
What's your prediction?
I'm going to stay with the Charlize Theron angle and the South African angle.
Okay.
My prediction is that Charlize Theron is forced to marry. This is from the Trump administration fiat. She's forced to marry Kimball Musk in order to maintain her American citizenship. So they're going to threaten to deport her, but they're going to come up with some deal where if she agrees to marry Kimball Musk, everything will be fine.
I think
he needs someone. He's lonely.
She's got to donate the movie Ion Flux to the Trump presidential library. That's probably what she's going to have to do.
That's your prediction. Don't step over my prediction.
My prediction, and there is only one prediction. Joe Gebbia.
Oh, speaking of Kimball Musk.
Who's now on both Doge and the Tesla board.
Yeah.
He's going to resign from both simultaneously and put out a statement that says, I can't be bought. But that happens right after the the Form 4 comes out that said he sold 4,000 shares of Tesla that he got as part of a really nice $64 a share like the board acquisition.
$64 a share.
Yeah, and he nets himself $1.1 million on his sale of his Tesla stock. I cannot be bought, is what he announces.
That's a weird prediction, but yeah, let's see.
That's it. That's Hazelnut Rawless. I'm your analyst, Matt Muscardi. We are free float.
Very American.
This is our Friday show.
No, this is our July 4th show.
In advance of July 4th. We are also going to put out a proxy countdown. If you want the numbers that I talked about how investors are getting screwed with these directors sneaking in right after AGMs, go download Proxy Countdown later today. Listen to it over your long weekend if you're in America. If you're not in America, listen to it tomorrow at work. Have fun at work, rubes. That's all we got. Until next week, good